Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 1973 Volkswagen Thing. Behind me is a 1.6 liter air-cooled flat 4, and down below is a 4-speed manual transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Volkswagen Thing for 2 reasons. First of all, I've never driven one before, and I'm very excited to check this off my bucket list. But the second reason is the fact that I think this car has a very interesting history, especially here in the United States, and I'm excited to share that history with you here today. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 1.6 liter flat 4 all the way out at the back. Well, that was the only engine available here in the United States. In other markets, they did get a 1.5 liter because they actually made it for a lot longer. In the US, we only got the Thing for 1973 and 1974. A very short run that we'll talk about a little bit later on. But it's the same engine that was shared with the Beetle and the Bus and the Karmann Ghia. It made about 46 horsepower, which is honestly all you need in a little vehicle like this. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 4-speed manual transmission. The shift pattern's a little bit slanted, but it's not hard to get used to. It actually is a pretty good throw into gear. Clutch is nice, light, and friendly. And overall, the driving experience is pretty good. It's a lot peppier than I thought it would be. Last but not least, the Thing is rear-wheel drive. So even though it looks very off-roady, no transfer case or anything like that. How does it feel to drive the Volkswagen Thing? Well, it's a little stiff around the edges, as one might assume. And honestly, you do have a pretty big blind spot when you have the windows in. Now, I have the windows in for audio purposes. You would probably remove them, but when you do have it in, you do have quite the blind spot, and the mirrors don't really help out all that much. So, something you might want to take note of. The steering wheel has also been swapped out for an aftermarket unit, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but it's very small, which makes turning without power steering quite the job. Let's give her a little bit of juice here today. There we go, second gear. Kind of sounds like a lawnmower. But like I said, 46 horsepower, you're not going anywhere too quickly, but you're gonna look good doing it, so sometimes that's all that matters. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a big black box. This is your wiper motor. It's just directly in front of the driver. On the inside, that's it. But then actually in front of me, I do get a single gauge for my speed. It also does have fuel incorporated in it, but that's pretty much it. As I mentioned, aftermarket steering wheel. And off to the left, we have our headlight switch, an aftermarket fog light switch, and the horn. On the door, you don't have anything. Literally nothing besides the latch to get in and out. However, something interesting is that to save money, both side doors of the Thing are identical. You can swap them out for one another. This made manufacturing 4 doors a lot easier for Volkswagen. They only had to have 2 different patterns instead of 4, and you wouldn't believe how much that cuts down on cost at the factory. Moving into the center, we have a cigarette lighter and some warning lights. That's it. We don't get any sort of climate controls. Now, technically, it does have heater controls by the parking brake, but they are rudimentary. We do have the shift pattern, which is nice to see, and an aftermarket radio so the owner can listen to some tunes, but that's it. Shifter down in the center, very plain and simple, unlabeled everything. Parking brake in the center as well. And of course, nowhere to put the big friggin' bottle, or no specific cup holders to put the big friggin' bottle, so it fails the big friggin' bottle test, but honestly, who gives a rat's top hat? The seats are decently comfortable. They do have lap belts, and honestly, the overall interior space of the Thing is fantastic. I don't fit super well in Beetles. I didn't fit super well in the Karmann Ghia. I fit okay in the Bus. This is by far the best I have fit in a vintage Volkswagen of any of my videos. I have tons of knee room and just width. Now, the Thing did use the Karmann Ghia's floor plan for a little bit wider of a vehicle, and you feel that here. That and the slim doors make this really, really easy to fit in for bigger guys like myself. However, speaking of seats, this is a 4-door, 4-seater, so let's go talk about the rear seat space. All All right, time to get in the back of the Thing, which it sounds disrespectful to just keep calling it the Thing, but that's literally the name. So, very, very common for Volkswagens of this era to have this little latch on the inside of the handle. That is how it worked, and as you can tell from the outside a little bit better, you can see that both doors are the exact same. So, coming inside here, but we can lift this seat up, and you can see how it is pretty crudely cushioned. It's not a very spacious automobile. All right, so my knees do have to push the seat up. As you can tell, not a lot of rear leg room. Headroom obviously is fine because I have no ceiling at all. We do have a window over here, and these windows are removable. So you just lift them out, and then there you go. You no longer have a window, or you could place it back in. There you go. Now you have windows once more. So very, very cool there. These also do fold down. They have like a hard metal backing to them, and you have some storage behind this. This is the soft top as well. The soft top does come up. Overall, it's not a comfortable back seat. However, it is cool to have the idea of going to the beach in something like this, taking these windows out, having that open air experience. I think that's really, really special. And so that is a huge attractor to the Thing. Plus it has 4 doors. Of this era, the only vehicle that was more spacious than this from Volkswagen was the Bus. Other than that, the Beetle was a 2-door, the Karmann Ghia was a 2-door. I might be missing some other Volkswagen products just because I haven't reviewed them. But of the 70s Volkswagens that I've reviewed, this is one of the most spacious. Even though it's not that spacious, it's one of the most spacious. So there you go. Obviously, around the back, we don't have a trunk, but we do have a Frunk up front, so let's talk about that. All right, so up at the front of the Thing, a couple of things to note. These are some thick, almost like canvas bags for the side windows, which is very nice. Some more leather bags, and we have our fuel tank, of course. This is also for towing, so the owner actually towed this up here from Florida using that rig right here. We have our windshield wiper bottle and things like that. So very, very simple, very basic, but I would totally imagine back in the 70s throwing your beach towel, your ice chest up here and going to the beach. Such a cool sight, and very cool that it is rear engine, so you get a lot of space up here at the front. Now, we don't have a spare tire up here. Most Volkswagens had the spare tire up at the front, but that is because we actually have it out here at the back. So you do still get a spare tire, however, it's just not found under the hood like most other vehicles. And so I always laugh whenever I see this. This is a sight that you'll never actually see because a Volkswagen would never have to pop its hood like that. So very funny. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and this doesn't look like almost anything on the road at all. And I love that about it. It's so unique and so special, and it's very, very clear that this does come from military roots. So after World War II, Germany wasn't really allowed to have a military. They were able to have a couple people here and there, but they weren't allowed to have these big battalions anymore. They kind of lost their privileges, and rightfully so. So for their vehicles in the military, they used a company called Auto Union to build these little Jeep-looking weird things. And you might never have heard of Auto Union, but you've definitely seen their cars before because Auto Union is better known as Audi. But in the 1960s, it was time for a new military vehicle. And so, while Volkswagen had passed on the opportunity before, now they were ready to do it. And they built something like this. It was known as the Type 181. And as it's gone with seemingly most military vehicles like the Jeep and the Humvee, people wanted them. People wanted little beach cruisers. They liked the utilitarianness of this vehicle. So they started selling them, and they started selling them all over the world. Here we got it as the Volkswagen Thing, but in other markets it was sold as the Volkswagen Safari. It was sold as the Type 181. It was sold under many different names in many different markets, and actually, while it was only sold here in the US for 2 years, it went on to sell and be produced in Mexico up until the 1980s. Now, the reason they stopped selling them here after 1974 was twofold. First of all, not a lot of people bought them. They weren't really that popular, and a big reason for that is that you would buy one of these for almost $4,000 in the 1970s when you could get a pretty decently optioned Chevelle for that money. And the Chevelle has windows and permanent doors and a lot more horsepower. A lot more creature comforts. So the money proposition wasn't there. Why would I buy a hammer for $4,000 when I could buy a microwave oven for $3,000? That sort of idea. The second reason why it went away was that in 1975, we started ramping up our safety requirements. And one of the safety requirements that was installed in 1975 was that the driver had to be a certain length away from the windshield. And as you could tell by the GoPro and just the car, the windshield's right in my face. Gosh darn it, the wiper motor's basically in my mouth. And so it no longer fit the US guidelines for safety, so they pulled it out of the American market. Would it have lasted much longer in the American market? I don't know, but they pulled it. I guess we are talking about my final thoughts, by the way, so we're in our final thoughts. My final thoughts on this are twofold. First of all, it's an incredibly awesome summer vehicle. As you can see, everyone waves and smiles as you go by. No one's angry to see this car, especially in this sort of sunflower yellow paint scheme. It's hard to be angry when looking at the thing. But tandeming off of that is the second reason why I love this vehicle. And it's the fact that this was meant for war. This was meant to see the worst parts of humanity and society, to transport troops into the unknown. And yet now it's a flower power funmobile. I love the duality of man, the ability to take something brewed for hatred, brewed for battle, and make it into a fun-loving coffee run car. That's what the American spirit is all about, taking something negative and finding the positive in it. It would have been easy to write this thing off as a stupid piece of war equipment, but that's not the case. It's so full of joy and life. It's like a retired police canine. And now they get to sleep on the couch. Now they get to have table scraps. Now they don't have the harsh regimen that they used to have. That's what it feels like to drive this. It feels like an attack dog who's been given a spoonful of peanut butter. Here we go. Up into third. Oh, that breeze is lovely. Ah, and you get so much breeze. Ah, I love this thing. It's so joyous. And it just reminds me that sunshine and laughter, it's the best medicine. It's just the best medicine. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Matthew for letting me borrow his Volkswagen thing here today. What an awesome automobile. I am so glad that we lucked out. We're up here in Wisconsin, actually. I'm so glad we lucked out weather-wise, because this review could have gone so poorly, but the weather decided to cooperate, so thank you, Mother Nature, for that. But Matthew's been wonderful. I also reviewed his S-Class last summer. This is his fun summer get-around car, and I can't think of a better one. So huge thank you to Matthew for bringing it up here from Florida so I could review. He's also going to enjoy it as a summer car up here, but I'm appreciative of being able to make the schedules work so I could film his thing. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.